I'm done trying to live up to others' expectations. Family, society, class, race, sex, or religions. It's time to break free from the isms that make us feel like we're in prison. I'm ready to be unleashed as fuck. I'm ready to be unleashed as fuck. Tired of the madness, done with the sadness. Gonna break free and be unleashed.
Hello, I'm Deidre Beecham, Visibility Catalyst and recovering nice girl.
And I'm Jenny Badig, the Inner Space Engineer, and welcome to Unleashed AF, the podcast where we help you own your own greatness and unleash your authentic self.
And I have to admit, just not feeling nearly as lively as I usually do with the opening credits, with our opening song. It seems very upbeat for how I think we're actually feeling. I know that it's been a week since the election, but I'm certainly still feeling it.
Ditto.
So anyway, before we dive in, a little aside there. Before we dive in a little bit about each of us, I work with soulful women to annihilate their nice girl training, and there's no better time than now. Got to get rid of our nice girl training so that we can speak with power and get some shit done.
Yeah, and as an inner space engineer, I draw on my background as a human factors engineer and hypnotherapist to help rewire your mindset so that you can unlock your true potential.
Phew.
And again, yeah, unlocking everyone's true potential, I think, would be ideal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to just skip past the whole, we love hearing from you, our website. Yeah, the unleashedaf podcast.com. And just kind of get into it. Is that feeling good for you, Jenny?
Yeah.
Kind of get in. It just seems, we were talking before the show earlier. I just got back from Italy. And one of the things we were talking about was how it's just weird. And it's just, there's still this energy of trying to figure things out and how do we step forward. And there's a heaviness that I'm still feeling, not as devastating as I was feeling earlier, because I feel like we're starting to get into action, but it's just a little tough. And I don't think we're the only ones that are feeling that.
Right. I'm quite sure we're not.
In fact, some of the things that we're seeing online, I know one of the most jarring for me while I was out of town was hearing about Nick Fuentes coming up with that slogan, your body, my choice. And he's actually doubling down on that now. I don't know if you saw the most recent.
I haven't seen anything recently. The most recent thing I saw was that there were people that have, I think the word I saw was doxied him, but I think it's given his personal information out.
Doxed him. Yeah, he's been doxed.
Yeah.
But yeah, he has doubled down on it now, even more so than he was before, and enjoying his revelry, making his people happy. Just so bizarre to me. I don't know where has our humanity gone to, Jenny? Where has the humanity gone to?
Yeah. I mean, this is like a macro course in what it takes to be a bully. I mean, hurt people.
Yes.
It's like, if you really had to boil it all down, hurt people. And we apparently have a lot of hurt people.
Yeah.
That we need to address.
Yeah, it's just absolutely crazy. And there was one other thing that just blew my mind. Oh, that's right. There was a group that went on campus in Texas. It has now spread to Arizona. I just saw it posted this morning in Arizona. They're coming on campus. I can't remember the name of the group. coming on campus with signs, big banners. One of them says, women are my property, or women are property. There's another one, the types of property, slaves.
Oh yeah, I've seen that one.
Women, dogs. And, it's just crazy stuff. And it's just kind of blowing my mind just how much. And when I sit and think, I follow a lot of Black creators, and the things that I'm seeing them post right now are, we fucking told you guys, we told you. And now I'm starting to understand a lot more than I had before. And there's a lot of systemic racism in our country.
Mm-hmm.
And you when you are part of the oppressive class, the rules are all made for you so that you don't see what is happening, so that you don't see how you're being trained to think, how you're being trained to act, how you're being trained to not see things.
Right.
And what is really interesting to me in this moment is that I'm seeing Black women really come together. What was the numbers? Something like 93% of Black women voted for Harris. I think it was something along those lines. It was a big number. And they're coming together and saying, look, our community is tight. We've got this figured out. You guys need to figure this out. And what's interesting is that in this moment, I'm seeing a lot of white people. I'm going to talk about women in particular, but I'm seeing a lot of white women coming on and saying, men, you need to fix this. You need to take care of, what are you doing if you see a guy go out there and say, your body, my choice? What are you doing? And I find it so fascinating. And I guess just experiencing it in real time, I completely see what Black women have been telling us for so long, that we need to fight for them. And that as long as we're not fighting for them, we're complicit in their oppression, just by the mere fact that we're not doing something.
Mm-hmm.
And, and it's like there's a creator, gosh, I just love her. I'm sorry, I don't know her name right now. I'll have to post it later. But she sings a song called, I Never Thought the Leopards Would Eat My Face.
Haven't heard it.
Oh my gosh, it is hilarious. It is absolutely hilarious. And so somebody will come, she takes somebody else's clip. There's a great one where there's a Black man, MAGA hat on, and right after Trump was elected, somebody in a MAGA hat came over and told him to move or get out. And he's like, what, man, I'm part of you guys. He's like, you'll never be accepted into our group. You'll never be MAGA. He's like, you're my friends. What are you talking about? I voted. She's like, was I just a vote? And then you'll see her come on with her little ukulele, and she's like, I never thought the leopards would eat my face. No, I never thought the leopards would eat my face. So funny. And she's just pointing out how ridiculous we are in not protecting each other. That all along, white women should have been protecting Black people so that they could join with us, so that we could start having an effect on those above us, because that's all it is. It's all oppressive nature, right? White men have more power than white women. White women have more power than Black people. That they just do. And we've known it for a long time. I mean, the Karens know.
Right.
Right, the Karens know. I'm sorry. I'm feeling like I'm on a little diatribe here, but got me all feisted up.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think, one thing that, as we were talking earlier, I recognize, and I didn't really know this before, and it's not a new thing necessarily, but in terms of the population of our country, there are more women than there are men.
Mm-hmm.
And there have been for quite some time, actually. And so there's just so many things we could mention in terms of what women are capable of doing. And I don't mean just, oh, we're smarter than you or something, but just without having to change anything, women bear children, women raise children. There's so much that women do that ends up not being as respected or as appreciated publicly,
Valued. Mm-hmm.
valued, good word. And so it seems like there's been an effort for not just decades, probably centuries, to make what appears to be the more important roles in society what the men are out doing outside of the home versus what the women are doing. I mean, the men wouldn't be the men they are if they didn't have a mother that supported them when they were young. And so I believe there is a component of this whole situation. I mean, we're definitely going to talk about how important it is for women to, the whole purpose of this podcast, help women get unleashed, to feel like they can step into their authentic, true voice and fulfill their purpose and things like that. That's absolutely important and critical. But another component to that is men feeling insecure that if they don't keep this appearance of being the ones that are more powerful or more important, then what happens to them? What do they have to fall back on? So there's also an inkling of and like I said, bullies,
Mm-hmm.
hurt people. So if it's the male population that's being a bully because they're afraid to lose what they've got, that's a component that needs to be addressed as well. Not that we're going to solve, all the world's problems or something like that, but
No, and I completely agree with you. This certainly goes along the lines of what we discussed before about nice girl training that hurts both genders, or all genders. I mean, it hurts because it pigeonholes everybody into a place that they are supposed to be and how they are supposed to act, and you're supposed to deny who you actually are. At least that's how I was raised. And it was all about, you have to act a certain way and you have to smile even though you don't want to smile, and you must let Uncle Jimmy give you a hug even though you don't like Uncle Jimmy to give you a hug. There are all these things, or all these rules that women have to separate themselves from who they are and to be in compliance. But the same thing happens to the boys, just differently. It's you have to be macho and you have to be tough.
You have to be a provider. You have to make more
money. Yeah, don't be a pussy. Don't be a bitch. I mean, all these things, it's training boys to look at women negatively. And that, how we raise our children has to change. Of course, we're not going to solve that either. I mean, our focus really is on women and helping them. And I think for me, and Jenny and I discussed this before the podcast, it's become even more critical for us to help women not only to get themselves unleashed because, it makes life better, but you're going to need to, we are all going to need to unleash from the constructs, the systems, the way we're being told to live our lives in order to stand in our voice and fight this, because we are on the precipice of losing our democracy. And I know that some people think, oh, that's that's reaching, that's fear mongering, that's ridiculous. Those of us that understand history, and Jenny, I mean, you know history. This is awfully parallel to what was happening in Germany.
It is.
And it's scary
and
for those of us that are the target of this administration. That is scary.
Yep. Yeah, and I think there's plenty of information about, I mean, it's not being circulated for the most part, but again, people who are aware understand that there were plenty of people in that time in Germany when Hitler came into power that felt like he was the better candidate. He was going to change things for the better. He was blah, 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 blah. And nothing about that threatened them. Even anything he said that was negative about a certain class or that sounded racist or whatever.
No, because they had ignored that because of what he promised. Just
Right.
like Trump makes promises that he never plans on delivering on. Well, in Germany, they did the same thing.
Yep.
Made villains of the Jews. Just like Trump has made villains of immigrants.
Yep.
And Black people and LGBTQ community were all a problem.
Right.
And so, my gosh, I'm going to fix your problem. And so he's made an enemy that everybody can get behind and say, yeah, if you hurt them, we're going to be okay. What? That makes no sense. And yet, and that's exactly how Hitler was able to get thousands of Jews put into ovens.
Yep.
And and here it's coming. The people were saying at the time, we didn't know what we were voting for.
Right.
And that's just not an excuse in this day and age.
Yeah. And as we talked about that earlier, we also pointed out that one hopefully significant difference between that piece of history and the history that we're living through now is that there is more open communication and opportunity to get information. Although on the one side, a lot of people are getting confused about what they can and can't believe.
Yeah,
but
which is
there's
on
so
purpose.
much more access, with the internet, cell phone, like people can, even if it's one-on-one, people can speak to each other better than they could back then. They barely had phone systems back then. Like, there's so much more opportunity to find out what's going on before it gets too late. That it really gets that bad, but there's going to have to be action to stop it. It's not, we can't just hunker down and let it wash over.
Yeah, we were talking about that. There's a name of the syndrome, and I did not find it before we got on the air. But it has to do with, it's kind of like a Stockholm syndrome kind of thing. But, it's that. Where was I going? I had another thought that came flying in, and now it's all gone.
Got blown up.
Shoot, what was I talking about?
Comparing this time to history, like Nazi Germany history.
Oh, yeah. Well, I can't remember what exactly it was that I was going to talk about. So let me bring up the other point that flew into my head, which is it's another syndrome, and it has to do with not standing up to the negative forces, right? So it's a matter of, instead of, and this is the syndrome I was thinking of, that when a new regime comes in, when a scary regime comes in, like what is happening right now, for those of us who understand history, when a scary regime comes in, there is a tendency to want to think ahead about what the regime is going to want out of your behavior, about your looks, about what they want you to do. And there's a something that goes on inside of you, like you want to make those things happen and change those behaviors in order to not be a target of the regime. And unfortunately, what that does is it gives them the power and understanding of just how powerful they are, because you're already giving them permission before they've even asked for it.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't even asked anything of you, and you're already making changes. And so what I was reading, and there was an anti-fascist book, and what I was reading is that the most important thing of all is that in the beginning, you don't give up any of your rights. You just don't give up anything. And instead, and it's the scariest thing of all, especially since we know what is possible. We know the targeting that happens and has happened already in the past. We know targeting happens. And it's so much easier to target people now. But the most powerful thing you can do, the most powerful thing we can all do, is heal, stand up together, and fight for each other while it's possible.
Right.
And the more we stand up against the regime before it comes into place, and I'm calling it a regime on purpose. And people that think that this is just going to be a 4-year thing are sadly mistaken. So if he gets what he wants. And so it's really important to come together. And so it's one of the reasons that Jenny and I had talked about creating a group. And then off on my own, while I was in Italy, I was like, I'm just starting it. because I feel really strongly that we have to stand up and fight this. And Jenny and I have gone through a lot of this work. I've overcome, narcissist in my family and sexual abuse and etc. I mean, the list goes on. And so we have come to a place where we have found our voice, and we want you to find your voice and to help you to move forward, to get grounded. If you're super nervous and your nervous system is kind of wrecked, but you want to do something, we want to help you. If you want to do something, but you have anxiety from everything that's going on around you, we want to help you. If you're ready to go and you have the bravery, your nervous system is in check and you want to go forward, but you need a support group around you so that you can come back and get refreshed, we want to help you. And so that's why we've created Unleashed AF, the Mind Shift. And I don't know if that name will stick, but that's what it is right now. We're going to start in December 1st. We're going to vet all of the people that come through the program. And we're going to put an application up, or a link for an application. It'll be on the Unleashed AF podcast website. And I will get to that this weekend and put the link up underneath this video as soon as the link is available. And we'll be marketing it for quite some time. So do you have anything you want to add in there, Jenny? I feel like I kind of took over the podcast. I told Jenny earlier, I've had nobody to talk to because I've been in Italy. And it's kind of crazy. But anyway, yeah, please.
Well, I mean, one of the things that I had mentioned last week when I came on, just to address the elephant in the room, so to speak, was that it'd be interesting to hear about your experience of finding out the election results in another country. So can you share a little bit of that with everyone?
Yeah, it was interesting because left Monday and arrived on Tuesday morning. And so we had an entire day. But during the election was still going on when I went to sleep that night. And because we're 6 hours ahead in Italy. So the next morning when I woke up, it was still Tuesday night. So there still weren't answers yet. And of course, it's middle of the night, so I didn't get in touch with my wife. And so we just went about our day. So we had a full day or partial day on Tuesday. and then we went about our day on Wednesday. And about half, or probably about 2/3 of the way through the day, I got in touch with my wife, and I said, "So what's going on?" Fully expecting, I mean, seriously, fully expecting, the blue wave had come through, and I said, "So how's it going?" And she said, "Not good." And I was dumbfounded. I hadn't been keeping up because I was out sightseeing.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, I said, "Well, wait a minute, what about the blue wave?" And she says, No, we're way past that. He's won. And I was in shock. I probably stood there with my mouth open, and I know the next thing I said to her was, "I really thought we had it this time. Really thought we had it." And then being in Italy seemed, why am I here? It just seemed fruitless and stupid, and not that Italy is fruitless and stupid. Italy is beautiful. Italy is stunning. But suddenly just wasn't where I wanted to be. I wanted to be home. I wanted to be with my wife. I wanted to be there to support her. And it was very frustrating not to be able to do that. And then my wife, she said, "Well, this is good because I don't want to talk about it anyway." Don't want to talk about it. I can't. I don't want to talk about it. I love you, but I don't want to talk about it. And I said, "Okay." And she says, and you're not going to talk about it because you need to enjoy it because you still have a lot of days there. I was like, "You're right." But yeah, the next day was hard. When we woke up in the morning, it was kind of all I could think about. It was very difficult. We were walking around looking at beautiful buildings, and it was just like, they all look the same. And they don't. They really don't. It's beautiful, but it seemed so pointless at that time. It seemed unimportant. That's probably a better way of saying it. Is it seemed unimportant compared to where I thought it was important for me to be. And but there wasn't much. There wasn't much on. I'm sure there may have been something on TV. I just didn't watch TV while I was there. My For You part of TikTok, of course, that was filled with those kinds of results. And then I really tried not to
that you would talk to, like anybody that was either other tourists from other countries or Italians themselves that were hearing world news type of stuff and talking to you.
Yeah, the taxi driver, the one guy, he was like, "So you elect the Trump?" And we're like, "Not us. We didn't elect him." And he says, "You go to the restaurant, you have some vino." He says, "Then you forget the Trump." And I'm like, "I don't think so, but that's thank you." And we met one very, you forget how, machismo Italy is. And one of our waiters was very excited that Trump had been elected, was very happy. And it was making fun of my pin because I was wearing a Harris pin. And what was interesting is that we looked up, and the guy in the kitchen overheard him talking about, yay, Trump. And he looked at me, he goes, yeah. And so that was kind of nice. But there really wasn't much. I was always wearing my Harris pin. And so I did get some looks sometimes, some smiles. Got on the plane to go to Atlanta from Italy. We were in Rome to Atlanta. And we got into Atlanta, and it's just angry. You could feel the anger in the air in the airport. Of course, we didn't go outside of the airport, but you could feel the anger in the airport. I think a vast majority of the employees at the airport are Black, and we know that 93% voted for Harris. So there's certainly a lot of anger in the building. And, and a lot of them have had threats about being slaves, being enslaved again. So, yeah, it's terrifying for them. They can't change how they look. And so that's absolutely terrifying. And then we flew into Raleigh, and it was late at that point. Didn't really feel much of anything, and I was exhausted. It was 4:00 in the morning for me back in Italy. But definitely different once I got here and once I recovered from some sleep. It just feels heavy, which I wasn't feeling in Italy. There's kind of a heaviness in the air. It's quieter. Same places that you normally go and are a little noisier, and there's just a kind of hushed tones around and a heaviness in the air, which was definitely not experiencing in Italy.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. And I think, I'm sure we'll hear a variety of information from various people through social media. One thing I've noticed is I deactivated my Twitter/X account. And
a lot of people are.
So, and I wasn't really on that much anyway. So I don't notice a big difference in terms of what I'm getting, shoved at me, because I wasn't really paying attention to it in the first place. But the thing that has emerged that is way more supportive and like-minded that I've been getting more input from is Threads, which is sort of the Facebook.
My wife's been pretty happy about Threads as well.
Yeah. And I don't know if that is part of why I had such a positive feeling about, man, I feel like we really got this, because there were so many people posting on there in early voting and on election day. 2 blue dots in a red state just understood the assignment, just took care of the assignment or whatever. Like, so much of that going on in there. And I'm like, man.
Yeah, it was, and I think that's part of why it was so devastating, because I really was very sure it was, when you look at all the people that Taylor Swift got signed up, you look at all the new voter registrations that we had, you look at the record turnouts at the rallies that Harris was putting on, you look at the record breaking fundraising. And there was so much hope. I mean, you could actually feel the shift in the air. We could all physically feel the shift, where there was like this positive energy, and it was that was hard. That was a hard hit. Now, my wife says that a week and a half before the election, that she felt a shift the other way. I didn't. I was enjoying the ride. But but it's one of the reasons I'm excited about the group Unleashed AF. I think it's going to be it'll be a positive thing for building a community online that you can go to. I know that Myra and I are considering creating an in-person community here as well, and that may be something that you want to do there, just to have an in-person community to go to as well. But yeah, we'll have more information about it soon, and have it on the website again at unleashedafpodcast.com. I'll probably put a link right on the front page, so you don't have to go looking for it. So you can just go to that sometime this weekend. Certainly by the end of the weekend, we'll have that up so that you can sign up if you'd like to get more information, get an application, and become a part of our community, so that we can fight this shit and help each other out and be supportive.
And I think one of the things that, just to reiterate, the reason that it's important to kind of boost ourselves up individually is because when you feel like you're on a shaky foundation to begin with, it's very hard to stand up for something. You feel like there's too many possibilities that you get knocked down or you get hurt. But when you're on a strong foundation to begin with, you can stand up to some shit.
Yeah.
and not
And
worry about
yeah,
it.
and having people that you can come back to and say,
Yep.
hey, this is what happened, and being able to have the community come around you and support you and say, hey, yeah, you did a great thing, or here's how you could do it better next time, so we can all support each other and grow as we move forward in our activism. And I also plan on bringing in. There's various people who are planning on bringing in people that will help you with your nervous system, but also the people that are more experienced in activism and things that we can do on a personal level so that we can continue to affect change in our
Right.
lives.
Yeah. A big part of this that we've talked about is sort of educating people. And that's been part of the reason for the podcast to begin with, is
Hmm.
raising awareness, educating people about what's out there, helping them to see they're not alone, or helping them to just understand more of what is a possibility or opportunity, different ways to get involved and active. Um, there's a few people I have in mind that I'm curious if we could kind of get them on here, because they have stepped into more active roles in terms of local government and things like that. What
Hmm.
does it take to do something like that? If we can get more people grassroots, in those kinds of positions, and then become more visible and more, um, not just active, but engaged, you
Hmm.
know, in turning the tide, so to
Yeah.
speak. That's
Yeah.
one way to do it.
Yeah, that sounds great. So, and so the group itself will be a paid group. To continue to get free information, you are welcome to keep tuning in to Unleashed AF podcast. This is where all of our free information will sit. If you're looking for more community where you can be with other like-minded individuals that are thoroughly vetted, then you can check out Unleashed AF, the mind shift. And I think that'll be a great help for you. I know I'm looking forward to it for us as well. It's a two-way
Mhm.
street. We all benefit from being together with each other.
Yep.
All right. So I don't know that we have a title for next week. Things have kind of changed tremendously for us because,
Yep.
you
Things have
know,
shaken up.
things have changed.
Yep.
So we're wiping
Finally.
the rest of our shows clean and starting up with new ones, truly focusing a lot more on activism and finding your voice, and healing so that you can find your voice, and supporting each other along the way. You have anything else you want to add, Jenny, before we go?
I think that covers it pretty well. I think, and we'll continue, like you said, we'll figure out how we structure the next few weeks of podcast episodes, but it'll be sort of a continuation, basically, of this discussion,
Mm-hmm.
um, and leading up to getting that group started. That sort of is a more involved, more active way of being part of this movement, the podcast, and everything that we kind of stand for. So we'll see
Awesome.
how it unfolds.
So if you enjoyed today's show, please spread the word, share, like, and I guess subscribe. I guess that's one of the words.
Yeah, well, and follow is the thing. It
Yeah,
doesn't
we.
cost anything to follow us on
Mhm.
Facebook, and they still have that measly little requirement that we have to have a certain number of followers before we can stream live on there.
Mhm.
And I know we'd have a lot more people watching us live, if we were on Facebook Live, because that's where a lot of people would get their notifications and
Yeah.
pop right in.
Yep.
So
Absolutely. So if
when
you
you get a
enjoyed it, please go ahead and follow us on Facebook. And don't forget to visit us at WWJDD on the Unleashed AF podcast.com. That is what would Jenny and Deidre do. If you have a topic suggestion, blah, easy for me to say, a topic suggestion, uh, or question, or if you want to be a guest. And we will be here next week and have a little bit better of an idea of how we're going to move forward, uh, and make sure we connect all the dots for you and help us all to be shining lights, because together we can do this. I have to hope that. I have to believe that.
We can make a different outcome in this time in history than what
we're thinking could happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that. All right. And let's see. I need to go over here. I wasn't prepared for the going out at all. All right. Well, thank you so much. And we'll see you next week. Take care.
I'm done trying to live up to others' expectations. Family, society, class, race, sex, or religions. It's time to break free from the isms that make us feel like we're in prison. I'm ready to be unleashed as fuck. I'm ready